Welcome to the final whistle for this FA Cup 2026 match preview. It's Chelsea versus Manchester City at 4 p.m. UK time, Saturday, 16th of May, 2026. The fourth year in a row, Manchester City have been in the final. A chance for City to claim the double, maybe on the way to a treble. Who knows? Anything can happen still. And then we have Chelsea. Pretty bad season all in all so far, but an FA Cup win could save it, I would say, as well as also guaranteeing a place in the Europa League, because right now that place isn't looking very likely. They have to rely on other results. Now, City are favourites, obviously. Great season, great players formed this season, like just in a good run of form in general as well. And they're when you head to head, we'll talk about shortly, has been phenomenal against Chelsea for a long time. But just a quick reminder about the fact that despite the fact City have been, this is the fourth year in a row they've been in the FA Cup final, they've actually lost the last two. So last year, if you remember, they lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace, of all teams, thanks to Arsenal striker Easy's goal. And the year before, they lost to Manchester United. And amongst the scorers on that day was also Garnacho. Will we see Garnacho in form against them tomorrow as well? And they do say that bad luck comes in threes, right? Who knows? Regardless, it won't be easy, but this is the FA Cup final. Anything can happen. Let's look at the recent form just in general from both of these teams right now so we can get an understanding when it comes to Premier League form. I'm just going to look at where they both stand at the minute. Now, I know form doesn't always matter on such occasions as an FA Cup final, but let's just look at it and see where they stand, because I think it does make some difference today. We'll start with Chelsea. I'm going to focus, like I said, just on the Prem. So Chelsea, last game, 1-1 draw with Liverpool last weekend. Wasn't a bad result for Chelsea. Wasn't a bad performance. I felt like they did pretty good. They could have easily won on the day. Liverpool, pretty average, I think. Dominated maybe the first, 20 minutes or so. Scored the first goal, but then it was mostly Chelsea after that. So 1-1, probably a fair result, but overall, I think Chelsea would have been happy with that point. Maybe a little disappointed not to get the win in the end. However, let's go prior to that. Before that, they lost 3-1 at home to Crystal Palace. Then they scraped a 1-0 home win against Leeds. Then they got smashed by Brighton 3-0 away. They got beat by Manchester United at home 1-0. And they got smashed 3-0 by who else but Manchester City as well, which we'll talk about shortly. So recent results, not too great. Obviously, the games were not super easy, but no games are at the moment. Now, let's look at City. City cruised to a comfortable 3-0 victory against Palace on Wednesday, and it was a comfortable victory. They managed to get the chance to rest some players. There wasn't really, the game wasn't intense. So even the players what played, I don't think they would have been worn out from that particular game. So that was a positive for them all around. Weekend before, they beat Brentford by the same scoreline. Now, I would say that was less convincing. They did look a little bit sleepy in that game. Energy was missing a little bit, but still a 3-0 victory. Then there was the 3-3 slip-up, we can call it, at Everton, where they had to come back from 3-1 down to dramatically save that game. Then they had a 1-0 win at Turf Moor against Burnley. And, of course, the 2-1 win before that over Arsenal, which kept their Premier League hunt alive. So recent form leans, obviously, to the advantage of Manchester City for sure. But, like I said, sometimes recent form in these kind of games doesn't really matter so much. Let's look at the head-to-head when we talk about City and Chelsea. Chelsea fans, you might want to close your ears to this one because it's not good reading. The last time Chelsea beat Manchester City was back in the 2020-21 season. Yeah, so that's like 5 years ago. And they actually beat City 3 times in that season. Once in the Champions League, once in the Premier League, and also once in the FA Cup semi-final of all games. However, since then, there's been 14 games between the two. City have won 12 of those, and there's been 2 draws. And if we look at the last 5 in particular, it's been 4 losses and a draw for Chelsea. So head-to-head, not great results really for Chelsea, unfortunately for them. However, when we look at the 2 games in the Premier League this season, Chelsea managed to get a 1-1 draw at the Etihad in January. That was when they was managerless. They just lost the manager, so McFarlane was in charge. They scored an injury time equaliser by Fernandes. And they didn't play all that bad, actually. It was actually a pretty decent performance. They could have even got more out of that game. Last month, they lost 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. Goals by O'Reilly, Guehi, and Doku there. Now, 3-0 sometimes is a flattering scoreline. I would say that was the same for Manchester City's 3-0 victory over Brentford last weekend, I think it was. 3 goals scored. However, the overall game, did it deserve a 3-0? Probably not. And I would say the same was for Stamford Bridge result, because in that game, Chelsea in all of the first half almost, but especially in the first half an hour, it was all Chelsea, and Chelsea could have had 2 to 3 goals in that first half. And I think that would have obviously completely changed the game. So it was only in the second half they sort of got blitzed by City. I think they scored 3 goals in 17 minutes, and that was that. And I think at that point as well, Chelsea, their head went down once they conceded the second, and of course the third went in. But by then they kind of looked like they'd already given up. So I feel like that result there, doesn't tell the entire story. And I think one thing here is we look at head-to-head, we look at the results this season, we look at Chelsea this season, and we look at the current form of Manchester City and how strong they've been all season. And everything's pointing to nothing other than a Manchester City victory. However, in the times that we've seen Manchester City get beat or concede goals or look like they're going to concede goals, the tactical strategy behind when that happens has been quite consistent, and it's been on the counter-attack. Yeah, and you can point to last season's final, right? So if City, we all know, they like to dominate the game, they dominate play, but when they don't manage to break through, then that always leaves them open to the counter-attack, because they dominate play, they get a little bit frustrated sometimes, and they keep pressing and pushing for that goal. But that also leaves you open to the counter-attack. We saw that against Manchester United earlier this season when they got beat there 3-2. We saw that, like I said, against Crystal Palace in last season's FA Cup final. We've seen that in multiple other games as well this season. Maybe not where they've lost, but maybe where they've been pressing for that victory and conceded a goal or conceded 2 goals, like Everton again, another example. So City, I think, have been guilty of not killing off games, sometimes early enough or at all. And multiple times that's happened this season, and it's cost them, or it's at least put them under a lot of pressure where they've had to come back and win the game. So I think if any strategy and tactics going to work for Chelsea tomorrow, it is the fact that they're going to rely on the counter-attack. That being said, when we look at that game where they lost 3-0, where they could have scored 2 or 3 goals in that first half, that wasn't counter-attack football. That was just Chelsea pressing and pushing players forward, right? I would say at the same time, the lineups weren't the same. Cucurella almost looked like he was playing a left winger in that game, and they was just pushing everybody forward. And I think the danger if Chelsea go out and do that tomorrow in the FA Cup final is the opposite could happen to them, because the form of Doku, and the form of Semenyo right now, these guys are flying. They're really good on the counter. They're really fast. So I think they're going to leave themselves at risk. So I expect a little bit of a conservative start to tomorrow, which I think is a disadvantage for Chelsea, because I do think if Chelsea went for it tomorrow, I honestly think if Chelsea could score an early goal tomorrow, that's the only way they're going to win, ultimately. Because I think if they let City play tomorrow, I think City will score. I don't think City are going to struggle for a long time to get a goal tomorrow. I do think City will score. And if they do score tomorrow, I expect them to go on and win convincingly. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The head-to-heads and all the stats and everything say one thing, but we all know, every game can bring up a shock result. And I think tomorrow, Wembley, big pitch, lots of space, lots of room for playing, lots of room for counter-attacks. It only makes for an interesting game, right? So what can we expect from starting lineups tomorrow? Looking at the recent team news from today, looks like Chelsea pretty much have everyone available. So it's a case of who McFarlane decides to play. We should expect apparently to see Sanchez back between the sticks. So he's back. I think we should expect to see Palmer, Fernandes and Pedro as the front three, as they've been pretty consistently. Defensively, I'm interested in who's going to play right back. I think Gusto he's going to, if they're going to give Gusto the job against Doku, I think that could be a problem. I think I would probably prefer to play Reece James on right back against Doku. I think he could have a better chance of dealing with him. I mean, it's Gusto's not a bad player, but I just think from an experience perspective, like Doku's on fire right now. So I don't know. Reece James was played in midfield earlier this season in the 1-1 draw, and he played really well, really good position for him. And no matter what, I think Chelsea are going to have to they're going to have to get support on both sides from the central midfielders, especially the defensive two. So that's why I'm a little unsure about what he's going to decide with. You can expect Cucurella to do what he does, right? He's going to be heading straight down that left side to support the front three in their attacks. We've seen that both games this season. Cucurella was actually probably Chelsea's standout player in both of those games. He caused problems for City. He almost scored in both of those games, more than once, I think, in the first game as well. So Cucurella could turn out to be very important tomorrow. Now, City, on the other hand, despite Pep groaning about saying, I heard him in a press conference saying it would have been nice to have the same 7 days rest of what Chelsea have had before the final, but hey-ho. Now, let's be honest here. City have a very in-depth squad of quality players. Rodri's in line for a return, so that's another addition to that. On Wednesday, he managed to rest Haaland, Doku and Cherki. They all came on for 20 minutes or so, but that game was no intensity in it by that stage. Nobody barely broke a sweat throughout the entire game, to be honest. So don't let that one kid you. Manchester City are going to be fresh. They're going to be fresh for this FA Cup final. They've got pretty much everybody fit. And I think he's going to have... Pep will know who he's going to start, but the performance of Foden the other night really, really said to me, oof, has he just squeezed his way into that starting lineup? And I don't know who he would... we kind of know it would probably be a case of Foden or Mamouche. Mamouche scored again the other night. He's been playing pretty well. Probably be upset if he didn't start, but everybody would, to be honest. So it's a case of who Pep is, I guess, tactically going to see as his best option tomorrow, whether it's going to be Foden, whether it's going to be Mamouche, what he's going to do there. He might surprise us. I don't know. Otherwise, defence and goalkeeper for City looks pretty much like it's going to be the same. We're going to see Guardiola, Diaz, Guehi and Nunes, and of course, Donnarumma in goal. Donnarumma has been really strong for City all season. A couple of hiccups here and there, but otherwise he's been making some really big saves, including in these last games as well against Chelsea. He's also done the same thing there. So yeah, interesting. So two strong teams, two strong lineups, form and everything else kind of saying Manchester City are going to win. But Chelsea, they've got a lot to play for when it comes to pride, when it comes to trying to save the season. And at the same time, not really got that much to lose, right? So yes, they could potentially get themselves in the Europa League automatically by a win in the final. But at the same time, I'm not sure that I'm not really sure that that would be a massive thing. It's just the Europa League. It's Chelsea. They want to be in the Champions League, of course, and they can still qualify in the Premier League for the Europa League, possibly. So I don't think that will be top of the mind. So I would really like to see, as a neutral, I think I would really like to see Chelsea go for it tomorrow. Because, like I said, I think if Chelsea can score early, Chelsea can go on and win this game tomorrow. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Now, on that note, let's do predictions. Let me know in the comments what you predict for the FA Cup final here. Who's going to win? Is it going to be Chelsea? Is it going to be City? What's the scoreline going to be? Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think's going to score and what the game's going to be like. Personally, I'm going to go for City. Yeah, like I said, I do think Chelsea can win this if they score early, but I just think City are too strong at the minute. They are really strong at the minute. They're playing really good football, lots of confidence. Pep, I don't know, Pep has a different aura about him at the moment as well, which I really like. So I'm going to go for Manchester City with a comfortable 2-0 victory tomorrow. I think if Chelsea score early, they can win 2-0. So it's going to be 2-0 either way, but my prediction is going to be 2-0 City. Let's see if I'm correct. Let's see if Chelsea can surprise us all and come away with a victory in the FA Cup final. Either way, it's going to be a great game, no doubt. Looking forward to it. And then, of course, looking forward to the Sunday fixtures as well as we dig into the last couple of games of the Premier League. So, so you will see me, no doubt, with some more match reviews and previews. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed already, please do so. Like and subscribe. Drop your comment in there about the prediction, and we'll take a look at those predictions after the game. Take it easy, folks.